Today, we're going to talk about emails and how you can engage prospects and also customers to sell effortlessly. Okay. And obviously, to help you with this session, your mics are muted, so that's fine. Please take notes, and I will be allocating some time with Q&A at the end of the presentation. And obviously, there'll be a freebie for you too. So stay to the end of the show. So for those of you who are new to me, my name is Andrew. I am an email conversion strategist. Generally, that's a fancy name of saying I'm an email marketer. Okay. I help you grow your sales by using emails. That's my little lane that I operate in. And I have combined about 30 plus years of experience. I started in the print media sales. And then I co-founded a web design house. That was 1990. Well, that was many years ago, 1990 plus. And we did sites for people like AirAsia, CIMB, Petronas, the Brunei state government, all of the ministries. And then for the last 18 years, I was with a cybersecurity company doing B2B sales, basically face-to-face meeting presentations and stuff like that. I'm also a co-host together with my friends Jason and also Manfred of our Three Marketers show. We go live every Wednesday on Facebook and also YouTube. And I've been using emails throughout my career. So when I decided to do something on my own last November, so emails was a natural thing for me. And it's something that I'm passionate about and something that I enjoy doing it. Okay. So just a quick poll. Who uses email here to engage their prospects and also their customers? If you type 1, if you do, and type 2 if you're not, or maybe not yet. Wow. Okay. Cool. That's good. That's good. All right. So it looks like most of you are. So based on the so-called Zoom poll, when you registered, I've actually asked the questions. About 58% say yes. So this is quite a representation of the crowd that we are. And 42% no. So at the end of this session, for the 58% who say yes or are using your emails, I hope to be able to give you some insights that you can use to optimize your emails. And those who have not started, okay, hopefully I get to inspire you to actually start, on a smaller scale, using emails for your business. Okay. So why is email important for your business? I'm going to run through as fast as I can because I've added about another 20 slides this afternoon. So I want to make sure that your time is well spent and I respect your time. Thank you so much for coming. So why is email important for your business? Now, number one is basically it's a one-to-one communication tool with your prospects or even your client. And it can be done at scale. Now, why one-to-one? Because if I send you an email, I could be sending to another 1,000 or maybe 100,000 readers at the same time. But the way we write the emails, you will receive it because you only receive one email from me. You will receive as if, I'm writing directly to you. Okay, that's one thing. Now, the second thing is you are in full control of your communication narrative. You decide when you want to send, you decide what you want to send, and you will decide basically what to write. So, and because it is targeted to readers who actually opted in, which is basically the third point, you're communicating people who are open to hear from you. Okay, they basically give you a permission for you to email them. And if they don't like what you write or if they don't like what you do, they can always unsubscribe. Just one simple button and off they go. So you are writing to somebody who's open to receive. And as opposed to, for example, social media, you put up a post, everybody would be able to read it, and if it goes viral, unfortunately with email, you can't do viral, but with social media, you can. But the problem is your message is going to be read by everyone, those who are interested or those who are not. And obviously from a business standpoint, email gives you about 4,200% ROI compared to social media, which is rated about 28%. This is something I got it from the internet. Okay. And everyone who has a social media is guaranteed to have an email. Now, whether it's functional email or not, that's another set of questions altogether. But generally, every social media account requires an email to open. Okay. Oops. And in terms of click-through rates, that means interaction or engagement, email click-through is about 2.5%. If you look at Facebook, it's 0.07%. So the engagement for emails is still rather consistent and is still very high compared to your social media. Okay. But more importantly is this: you own your customer data. Now, for example, like this particular event, I've emailed you 1 hour before, 15 minutes, and also 30 minutes before, right? And it's not to everyone. To those who say yes, raise their hand and say, yeah, I'm interested in this particular event. So by the fact that I am able to do that, because I have in my possession, with your permission, your email address. I can go a step further and get mobile number. Maverick does that. So I can also reach you by SMS to remind you. Life gets in the way. So you can actually, by virtue of doing this, you own the data. So nobody can shut me down. If today, for example, MailerLite, which I'm using to send, and if MailerLite decides that they don't like the kind of email I send, whatever it is, or they raise the price, I can just download all my subscribers and then I move to another service provider. But social media, you can't. You're assuming, let's say you build a followers up to 500,000, for example. Like one day Facebook decides to shut you down, for some vague non-compliance of their community policies. They have done it to a country. They did that to Australia before. They did that to a sitting US president before. So basically, you and I, if they want to shut us down, we stand no chance, right? So that's the key point with emails. You get to keep your customer data, and this is gold, okay? Now, in this session, I plan to help you do this. One is to get sales. In fact, get more sales. Do it consistently. That's the hard selling part, okay? But you need to be mindful of one thing, that email is essentially a long-term play, okay? But it's still a highly profitable long-term play. So before that, let's start with the buyer's pyramid. Okay, let's talk about buyer's pyramid. Now, this is a concept popularized by Chet Holmes. He's the author of a very good book on sales called The Ultimate Sales Machine. And his idea or concept, you want to call it, is that at any one time, there will be 3% of the people that you happen to talk to who wants your product or services. Okay. And then there's 7% of them who show some interest. They kind of like what you say, but they need a bit more information. Then as you move down the pyramid, you get 30% who are actually not thinking about it. Maybe for whatever reasons, maybe the timing is not right. They're just not thinking about it. And then there's another 30% who believe that they are not interested. Okay, so this is coming from their point of view or their belief system for whatever thing it is, that this is not right for me. And finally, you have the bottom 30%, those who are very, very clear that whatever you're offering is definitely not for them. Okay, so if somebody who is dead set, for example, on social media and marketing and ads, for example, and they see results, and if I want to talk to them for email marketing, to them is, I'm okay, I'm doing fine. So definitely that's the 30% that definitely not for me. Now, the next question is this. So that's great. What's going to happen to the 97% then? I've got 3%, fine. If I run an ad, I'll probably get, 3% people who are hot enough and who may want to buy my stuff. But what about the 97%? Okay. And you got to remember one thing, that they may not buy now, but how about 1 month, 3 months, or even 6 months, right? And that's where you use email to prime, to prod, to cajole, and also to move them closer to the buying intent, okay? And you do that by using active emails. That means you write campaigns and you send, like what I do. I wrote an email this morning to remind you to come into this particular event, and also automation email. So if you join my list, you'll get a welcome series emails, for example. Those are automation. Those are emails that's triggered by your action, okay? And the good thing is email is also a great filter, because those who are not aligned with your message would naturally unsubscribe, like I mentioned again. So you can continue to do right what you do. And if they don't like your message, they just go. So only, and besides, you just want people who are within your so-called within your lane, who is within your same interests as you, to be able to basically stick with you. So that's a good filter for you with emails. Okay. So with all this, how do I start? I would always recommend that before you do anything with email is to study your sales process. Okay. You need to find out, for example, at what stage of the prospect or the customer engagement that you can use email to communicate and also use it as a follow-up process. Okay, so it's an addition to your entire sales process, where you review and say, what are the touch points which I could possibly use email to reach out to them. Okay, and which that would then lead to, for example, the last step. What are the last steps that needs to happen before I have a chance or you have a chance to close? Now, in most cases or most business, they are either at the point of request a quotation, or if you have professional services, you get on a call. Okay, like now I can get you to join a webinar. There's no pitch as promised. Okay, there's no pitch at the end of this. So, but if I want, I could do a pitch to upsell you something, and also try my software if you're in the SaaS business, or schedule a presentation if you're in a B2B space. Okay, so far so good. Are you catching me? Am I moving too fast? If you're okay, then type okay. Otherwise, then I have to slow down a bit. All right. Okay. All good. Cool. So, yes. Thank you so much, guys. Thank you so much. Thank you, Clement, Intan, KB. So, what needs to happen in order for you to get closer to this particular last step? Remember, we're talking about this one, right? What needs to happen before that? So, in this case, remember the 97%? You have a group that says it's definitely not for me, and you want to use email to basically move them to, I do not believe, I'm not interested now stage, to the point of not thinking about it, to the point that say, hey, okay, now whatever you say seems to make sense. Whatever you write seems to make sense. Show me something more. Okay. But let's think. Let's be honest about it. Okay. There is a weakness in the emails armor. Okay. Can any one of you guess what's the weakness? Anyone can guess what's the weakness? Spam folder, Khaled? That's one. Cannot get immediate feedback? No. I mean, if you respond to my emails, I get it immediately. Unsubscribe, somebody, nobody reply, you get ignored. Okay? Right. But the real weakness of the email is this. You at least need to have subscribers. Irrespective whether you get into spam folder or not, if you don't have subscribers, you won't get into spam folders, right? You don't have subscribers, nobody's going to reply to your email, nobody's going to read your email. So you need subscribers, right? That's a very basic rule for email marketing. So if you have the best email written in the world, but there's nobody to subscribe for you to send, there's nothing much you can do, okay? So what you need to do is to find ability or find a way for you to invite them into your world. So if you're in social media, get them off into your subscriber list. If you're on a website, get them off to your subscriber list. Now, how do you do that? Here are some ideas. Okay. Obviously, for those in the marketing, people like Maverick would know, you offer something of value in exchange for their email or phone contacts. This particular event, or this event itself, is a form of offer exchange. Okay. And those in the marketing would know this is basically called lead magnet. Okay. So you can have a guide if you do a PDF guide, or you can do an event like this. Basically something of value to the users, to you, that you would be able to, you would be willing to give your email or contact details in order to be so-called opted in order to receive this. Okay. So just I did a few examples of different industries. Could you all just basically share? Hopefully, I make an assumption is right. She ran a poll in LinkedIn. Forgot about it. What industry are you in? Education. Jess is training. Kelvin is financial services. Khalid is financial consulting, coaching, advertising, PR, market research. MLM, cool. E-learning, HR services. Pang is IT. Monica, IT. Well, that's a lot of IT guys here. Cool. IT services and solutions. All right. I would not be able to cover all of them, but we can do this during the Q&A, okay? Automation marketing, Benjamin, cool. So let's look at this. Now, if you have a website, okay, keep to that. I'm going to come back later with time to address this. So if you have a website, what you could do if you're an e-commerce, right? You would basically do a pop-up, and certain e-commerce will say a 15% off, a 10% voucher. For example, in Gayam, for example, this is a yoga specialist e-commerce store. They actually do a pop-up, but their pop-up is not your typical rectangular and round shape, you know. So it's basically very nicely designed to catch your attention. So this is like a delayed pop-up. The moment you scroll, I think 2 or 3 seconds will come up. And they want to basically stay in the know on the deals and discounts, and then ask for your emails, you know, if you want to know about products and all those things. Now, if you're in restaurant or F&B, unfortunately, there's nobody in restaurant and F&B. You could do stuff like your recipe of your most famous dish, right? And when they taste your food, they say, how do you do this? Can you give me a recipe? And these are the things, and chances are, even you give them a recipe, they will not be able to cook as well as you anyway, you know. So by sharing this, you basically make it as an exchange for the email address, okay? So professional services, so some of you are in, for example, like HR, Manish, you know, who else? ST, health supplements, okay, financials, Mushame, which is education, okay? You can actually share, for example, a test. So if you have a specific test that you do to qualify potential prospects, or to basically gauge their interest, the level of interest, you can do this. Now, the interesting about this test is when they spend time to go through this test, they would like, obviously, at the end of the 1 minute, 2 minutes, you know, or 4 minutes in this case, they would like to get the results, right? Tony Robbins does that with his some of his campaigns. And in order to get the results, they will ask you, you know, give me your email address so that I can email it to you, or I can email that report to you. And it's a very smooth way of doing it, you know. And this is how you collect the emails. So those people who actually gone through the test are already, to a certain extent, qualified because they've shown interest. Okay. So there's nobody in real estate, but there's also in real estate, obviously, you can do a real estate guide, you can do a pricing guide, buying guide or selling guide, for example, area guide. So if you cover, for example, an area like One Utama, you will put up, for example, a guide for house prices in One Utama. Now, if I, for example, I'm staying in Shah Alam and have no intention of buying any or selling any assets in One Utama, I won't be interested. But somebody who is looking for it, and they will definitely, you know, there's a high chance that they're going to give you their email address. And now, you know, the people who download this are definitely looking for either to buy, to sell. Okay. And this is where you can start a relationship. And finally, if in personal finance, you can do stuff like free retirement guides. So these are quick and easy to digest lead magnets that you can use to exchange for their email address. And this is how you build your subscriber list. If you happen to be a blogger or you write articles, for example, you can do this. During this, for this particular, to prepare the slides, I actually was looking for, you know, some top 40 largest Facebook group. Now, this particular blog called One Up Blog, they do it very interestingly. They give you the title is list of the 40 largest Facebook group 2021 updated. So it's recent. And when you go in, they will give you 10. And if you want the balance 30, you need to basically sign up give your email address in order for them to email you the CSV of the 40 list that you can use, right? So this is one way of doing it. So if you're in B2B, for example, if you write blogs, you can also put up at the site. You know, if you want to get new updates or you don't get, basically stay updated for new articles that, you know, you may write, ask them for their email address. Okay. So this is, and if for example, if I'm not in this area on lead generation, no, I would. Okay. I may stumble on it because of maybe a search engine or whatever it is. But if it's not within my industry, I won't basically give my email address. So if they are, they will. Okay. If you are Facebook, if you're on Facebook, you can actually so-called gather your groupies by using Facebook groups. And Facebook group, remember when you sign up, they will allow you to ask 3 questions, right? And one of them you can actually use to entice them. to basically give you the email address. Okay, so you can collect email address forever whenever somebody joins as a membership. So people like, for example, Spencer has a Facebook group, private Facebook group, right? Hey Carson basically creates a Shopify for entrepreneurs. So it's a very targeted group. It's only for Shopify entrepreneurs. It's not for WooCommerce entrepreneurs. So people who join this group, and obviously they will collect email address, for example, and they will be able to then communicate and take them offline and use email to further communicate and give them further better values or other values that they want. Okay. Kimberly and Jimenez, she has a business lounge, which is focusing on marketing, for example, business mastermind. So when you create a Facebook group like this, you can actually collect email address. And for example, I was talking about, I have a Facebook group, okay? And one of the questions is asked for email address. You know, for example, like Jim Edwards, which is a copywriter, he has his own copywriting Facebook group. And same thing, he will ask for your email address. So in order to qualify, well, generally you need to give them your email address, otherwise they may not approve you. All right. So this is another good way of collecting leads or collecting your subscriber or growing your subscriber list. So if you're in LinkedIn events, like what we did or like what I did, you know, you can basically do this. You know, you've gone through the entire process. You know, you come in, you attend the event. They will ask you for your LinkedIn-based information, and that's how you can actually collect, or event organizer can actually collect the email address, right? Writers has the same. If they do a legal events or legal leaders events, you can do that. So with LinkedIn, if you're not on Facebook, you like LinkedIn, like most of you are from LinkedIn space. I created this specifically for majority for the LinkedIn friends here. And that's how you got in, okay? So obviously, if you're not, then you can do an online seminars. For example, like Commerce SL, recently they did an online seminar. You can join for free, but you can't get the recording and all those things. If you want, there's an upsell. But generally, if you can stay up like 3 o'clock in the morning or 4 o'clock in the morning, you can actually get the content for free, right? But you need to register, and that's where they collect your email address, okay? So if you're not in all this, at the very least, in your social media posts or social media profiles, for example, you can have a link to sign up to join your newsletter. So if they like the post that you put up, you can put at the bottom of your each post and says, if you like more, sign up. I happen to have a newsletter, subscriber newsletter that I send once a week or whatever it is, that talks more in deeper details or in details about this. So if you like, so whenever you do that, that's a very organic way of collecting or growing your subscribers, right? I think Maverick mentioned in one of his events before, business cards, right? If you have not started, for the 42% of you have not started, you have your business cards, all right? In events or meetings, you can actually use that to start your email list, okay? So let's assume you have done that. Now you have an email list. So what's next? What do I do? The next question most people tend to ask me is, okay, what do I write? Right? So obviously you need to start with your first and most important automation email. Okay. So in the physical world, in your first meeting, you actually obviously offer an answer rate. Okay, that's like 2 years ago. We have not done anything. We've not met anybody in physical as far as I'm concerned. So that's 2 years ago. But 2 years prior to that, you offer an handshake, you introduce yourself. That's a physical world. In the virtual and online world, when they join your list, you obviously send them a welcome email. Now, what's the content of welcome email? Same thing, you introduce yourself, you tell them basically what to expect, right? Because they sign up to receive value or content from you. So the question is, how frequent are you going to send? How often are you going to send? What are you going to send, right? So those are the things that you can do. And this is automated. That means even if it's 2 o'clock in the morning, somebody from US or wherever it is, stumble across your list, sign up for it. The welcome email will send according to the point that they sign up. Assuming, let's say you have a 5 minutes delay, they will receive that. So this automation works 24/7 for you, okay, until you decide to change the content. Once in a while you may want to refresh it, but generally speaking, these systems or basically automation runs on their own, okay. Then you can then decide, once they finish the automation sequence, you can then, send an email a week. So my recommendation, if you're starting out, at the very least, send 1 email a week, okay? If you can scale up, then you can do more. For example, like for my case, I send email to my list 5 days a week, Monday to Friday, okay? And the reason why I do that is, one is because to share value with my audience, with my readers. The second thing, it gives me a chance to practice my writing. Okay, I'm not a born copywriter, so basically I've got to go the hard way of actually writing, and that's how you get better. Okay, here's some more ideas. So remember the 97%. So if people that's definitely not for B, you can send emails and talk about your why, your business mission, the background of your product and services. It's basically a slow burn kind of content. There's nothing to sell. You don't push anything, but basically you just slowly get them to a point that they may be aware, because at this point they are not aware of the problems, or even for that matter, any solutions. Okay, so you want to use this to basically trigger, and at any one point they could, for example, I may not be looking for running shoes now, okay? But maybe next week, I may be required to do that for a company event or whatever it is. I'll be in the market for it, okay? Or somebody I need to meet, and he happens to be a jogger or runner, and I need to be there to see him. Then I need it. So that may change, right? So your emails, when you send regularly, is where you capture them when they are ready, okay? So if those who are in the, no, I'm not that interested now and all those things. So you can always share the case studies, share testimonials, so that they can find themselves, if they happen to see somebody that in their same space and get gotten the results they want, they may be interested. Okay. You talk about new feature updates, new benefits. For example, Apple does that. All right. Awards, recognition, milestones to give you authority. Right. And if you're not thinking about it, group, then we can do impulse buy, discount offers, or maybe just free training. Like now, most of you, like the 42% of you, are not into emails. Okay, I'm doing this particular training, is free. Okay, and the idea is to trigger you to, not necessarily you have to buy from me, or basically use my services, but if you will basically start using emails, and up to a certain point we get more advanced, for example, or you come to a roadblock, you may want to talk to me. But basically it's fine, because the idea is to use this to trigger. So if I'm in education business, I may want to do a quick offer, or e-commerce are great for this. They will do a 70% off if it's 99, 10, 10, that kind of thing. They do that, and you may not want it, but eventually you say, okay, why not? I buy now, the discount is good. I may not get it again. Okay. And finally, for those who, sounds interesting, tell me more group, and this is very close to that last point of closing. Send emails to get them on a call. Give them some incentive. Arrange for a demo, for example. You can ask them some information that they want in order for you to provide some quotation. Those are the emails that you can actually send for all these different groups. Now, the thing is this, the buyer's journey is never linear. It's not like from one point to the other, it's just a straight line. It's never a straight line, okay? Human beings are generally unpredictable anyways. We have our moods, we have our interests, and different things happens in our life. So you can actually mix and match these emails, okay? It's okay. Up to the point, especially when starting, up to a point that you can then eventually segment them, okay? So that's a key part of email. You can segment these readers based on their action, based on the items that they click, and you can actually put them into each one of this bucket, okay? So if for people who don't open your emails at all, very likely that they're in the lower 30% that this is not my interest, right? So I may not want to open. Maybe I'm a nice guy, I don't want to unsubscribe, but I'm not opening it. So they could be falling into it. But certain people, every time you send an email, they click. Then very likely that they're into the first two, which is very close to that 3% already. Okay, so this is how you do it. So now, not about forgetting, you can do stuff like business updates, for example, in B2B, industry news, tips, or even guides. So there are many ways or angles that you can use to write emails. All right, you don't have to write 10,000 word articles. It could be as simple as one or two phrases or one or two sentences, or just an update with a link to a YouTube video. That's fine, because you're just keeping in contact with your readers. Okay, and with that, over time, you'll be able to establish trust and authority. All right. And what you want to do is this. You want to get in the line of sight and to be at top of their mind. So if you send an email once a week, if you send an email daily, for example, when they open your email, they will see the whole list, of your emails that's coming in. And they may not open on Monday, They may open your emails on Tuesday or Wednesday. If they don't, they may open on Thursday. Your subject line could be interesting that makes them to open. So it gives you a lot of chances for you to do that. If you do once a week, or certain people say do once a month, you have only 12 chances for you to get them to open your email. If you do once a week, you get 52 chances. If you do more than that, it basically grows. So the chances of them opening increases with the amount of frequency that you send emails. Okay. So let's look at some example of email flow by industries. I've actually picked e-commerce, F&B, I think retail, not retail, real estate. So I'm going to run through this. Okay. And just to give you an idea how you can actually use it. So the first thing is, for like Tommy Hilfiger, right? They are in e-commerce space. They can do a pop-up to collect subscribers. Okay. So enjoy 20% off for your first purchase. All right. So that's one way to actually entice people to give their email address. Dolce & Gabbana, same thing. In this case, they don't offer discounts, but basically they say stay up to date. Probably they're a bit more branded, or they're a bit more atas, as they call it, so they can afford not to give you discounts. But you notice they actually do one level of filtering where they ask you whether you're women or men, or even a language. Okay. By virtue of that, they already classify or segmentize you into, if you're women, they will receive, very likely you will receive products related to women, and men, obviously men. So that's one way of doing it, even at your pop-up stage, right? To filter your audience. So what do? When they receive the sign up, you will send welcome emails. Okay. Now, my case, most of my emails are pure text, but it's kind of boring when you do presentation and just show a load of text, and very likely that you will not be able to read on screen. So we use some graphics to it. So these are the e-commerce kind of welcome emails. They can talk about their story, like I mentioned. You can welcome you like Dims does, or even Gaiam, for example. Now, the interesting thing is I actually signed up for Tommy Hilfiger and also Dolce for their newsletter. 48 hours has gone by. I have not received their emails. Something is wrong. Okay. In Gaiam, for example, it took them about 3 minutes to send an email. The moment I subscribe for it, I receive a welcome email already. All right. So obviously, something is working, the other two is not working. So it's very important to make sure that your welcome email gets delivered as soon as possible while they're hot. If you wait one day, then they may even forget you. Okay. Then you can do flash sales, right? So in e-commerce, you do flash sales, 30% off. You see that a lot, if you're e-commerce, you buy stuff and all those things, you'll see this a lot. You can do value and also content and also sales. So you provide certain values upfront, and at the same time, a little button and say, if you want more, if you want to get something to help you, you can actually do that. All right. Then you do upgrades, right? Wix has that. If I've subscribed for premium, a lower tier premium, they would then send me emails to remind me that I could upgrade to the next tier and give me a 50% off, right? So this is great for your B2B, for example, if you do that. Professional services, maybe not, but basically for automation, marketing, IT stuff, you can actually do that. Education, no, not. MLM, yes. Market research, yes. Right? You get some basic information. You upgrade to a silver level or gold level, for example, you get the best research report from your top tier researcher and all those things. So these are the things you can do the moment you have, and it is possible the moment you have subscribers on your list based on their interaction. Grammarly, I think most of you will be using it. You will receive that when you go for the free service, for example, they will send you an email to entice you to upgrade. Okay. You can do early bird sales. So now, assuming if they are on your list, if they join you as special members and all, you can give them priority. All right. So the emails that I send to all of you is only limited to, and not limited to people who did not join. Okay. So that's one thing. So if I have any freebies that I may create out of this, you guys will get it and nobody else. Right. So in e-commerce, you can do early bird sales. You can do browse abandonment. Okay, this is a different. There are two types of email systems. One is primarily informational, like most of us will use. If you run e-commerce, then you should be looking for, the keyword is email e-commerce kind of software, stuff like Klaviyo, what's the other one? Omnisend, for example. The reason is they have tight integration with Shopify and also WooCommerce, and they can create stuff like browse abandonment. Okay. So browse abandonment, a quick one, just generally the idea is if you subscribe as a member and you come to this site and you browse a certain page and you leave, an email can be triggered to remind you that page that you went, and try to entice you to come back again. Or even you're browsing for some products, right? They can, because of your register, they can then track you and then basically send an email and say, hey, by the way, for example, like MCM, so you left something behind, for example, or you may be interested. How about a 5% off or 10% off? How about free shipping, for example? So those are the ways that e-commerce emails can be used. Okay. Special occasions, very obvious, birthdays and all those things. If especially like, for example, like which one was doing it? So then e-commerce site will ask you for birthday and basically day, month, and year, for example. And then this is where you can send special occasions. I received that for Adidas. Every anniversary of my birthday, for example, 30% off for their shoes or their tires. You can do transactional. Okay. So whenever something is bought, these emails are designed to combat that buyer's remorse, right? And also to build up anticipation, because when you buy, you want to get it as soon as possible. So the transaction emails can be used to assure them that things are on the way. So these are the emails that you can actually, they would definitely be open. Okay. So those who did not engage, so you have win back. Win back, basically, I'm sending an email to entice you to come back. You may not open it for the last 30 days. You may not have engaged with our emails for the last 60 days. So you can actually use this for win back. So moving on, email flows, for example, for restaurants and F&B. Okay, same thing. Remember, we talked about using their recipes to collect subscribers, and you can even on spot now that allowed for dining, for example, in your menu, you can have a little QR code and says that if you like this dish, we can send you the recipe for you to try if you want, and this is where you can subtly collect the email address. Okay. Let me see. Manish, in B2C, not necessary. In B2B, emails can also be used. Yeah, the impact is there. But obviously in B2C, there are more applications. There's more freedom for you to do this. There are many ways of doing it. B2B, like I was talking to Cassandra earlier, we are limited with branding, we're limited with messaging, but generally speaking, you can still do with B2B. Okay. So to make offers, F&B, you can even make announcements. For example, now it's open. So you see, when they announce that dining is available, now the question is, the restaurant owners, how are they going to get to their loyal customers if they've not collected their email address? If they've collected their phone numbers, great, they can still SMS. But if they've not collected anything, how are they going to let them know that the stores or the restaurants are open? So you can actually do that. If you have the email address, you can send, an announcement about it. So email flow by professional services, baby center, and they do it very well because they are providing data to your baby. And especially being a parent, I know that at this age, whatever the hospital is providing, I will basically subscribe unless I need to pay for it. But generally, if they want to track development of babies, it's for free. What's wrong? Nothing wrong with that. Okay. You can do an introduction. For example, if you have professional services, when they come in, they subscribe, you can show them basically what you do. For example, you can also talk about, when somebody, these are a slight variation because the second one, when they meet up with you, they give you an exchange of business card, you can actually send email like this. Okay. So you can actually automate this process as well, because all you need to do is key in their name, first name, last name, and also email address, send it into your ESP or your email service platform, and then you will send out. Okay. You can use it for authority building, like my dear friend Chunyan, he's a physical training, fitness training. He can actually send emails to his list, people who have not bought his services, or people have spoken to him but have not bought his services, and then basically provide value and share with them that, subtly saying, these are the things that you're missing. Would you like to be interested? Okay. So he doesn't put any sales offers, but basically he's putting that so that if they want, they can reply to him. So I've had him set it up such a way that, you can reply to his email directly and it gets into his inbox. Okay. If you're in real estate, this is clear, this or that. So if you're in 1U, for example, or you want to compare between 1U and let's say Tamanton right across the street, you can actually put these two and then you gauge based on clicks. So somebody who is interested in one or the other property, they will click, you would know. Okay. So there's ways that you can do it by tracking by clicks. And now you can also use it for segmentation. Okay. Once you know, you can then start sharing price information to a specific group. So if I'm in Shah Alam and if I happen to click a property within this area and I receive this, right, I'm getting value. And if I want to buy or sell, very likely that I'll call this guy first, or this girl first, or this person first, right? So if you're in personal finance, you are basically, you can do stuff like, providing value. Again, is content value. Like Rachel, she does that. So whenever there's a specific dates, like going back to school, for example, she would then remind you and says, okay, are you sticking back to your budget? So these are the ways where it's very subtle to be constantly reminding and building engagement with your readers. It's not about, I'm sure a lot of you will fear that, well, if I'm going to write email, I have to sell something. Yes, you're selling something, you're selling the click. Okay. It could be a click to read your content report. It could be a click to watch your video, for example. It could be a click to your sales page if you want to, right? But generally, you don't sell on email. You basically sell the concept. You pre-frame the users by using email. Okay. So Kepler, if they're in a fund management, they can do stuff like, asset management, pricing, or basically data and all those things. And these are basically a very subtle way of building trust and also authority with their readers. Agora built their entire business based on email. It's $1 billion company. And that's what they do. They have, the last time I heard, they had about 2 million plus subscribers. And they only send their daily emails to those top 15% who open their emails. And then those who, within the 30 days range, they only send like 2 or 3 times. But they made their entire business based on their email list. So that's how powerful it can be. And by the way, MailChimp just got acquired or offered an acquisition for 12 billion. So somebody tells you that email is dead, nobody is going to acquire MailChimp for 12 billion, okay? So, cool. I was worried that I'm going to run over time. So we've got 15 more minutes. All right. So here's the secret sauce. Now, irrespective, you may be overwhelmed by all this. I'm going to just boil down to something very simple. The secret sauce of email marketing, at the very basic for you to start off, okay? You start with your from name, okay? Your from name, where's this thing? Oh, okay. You start with your from name. I missed one slide, okay? So these are the point that when they would decide whether, do they know this guy? Do I know this guy? All right. Is this company familiar with me? So it is always better if you have a name followed by the company. But if you have a big brand, then fine, you can use company on its own. But you can always interchange. The good thing is you can always change your from name. So you can have, for example, like Manish, you can have Manish at ProPay for time to time if you have a message to send. Or you can just use ProPay, for example. So that's possible that you can do that. Okay, but from name is one of the key points that they will decide whether they should open their emails or not, or your emails or not. Then the second thing is obviously the subject line. Okay, is it, if you notice the example that I use, it's a random example. I subscribe to a lot of newsletters because that's the line of business I do. You notice that most of the what you call that, the subject line are moved towards the curiosity and asking questions that triggers, that makes you want to open and find out more. Okay, I will go into deeper in the subsequent slides. So subject lines is one. So for example, some of them you can like Gumroad. Okay, you can do how to. Okay, so how to is a very nice starting point to start your email. How to invest, how to find the best house, how to manage your HR, for example. It could be that. Okay, and the second option is, you make it, okay, this is something that most email marketers do not recommend, but once in a while you can actually play with this. There's no rule that says what is right or wrong. You can make it look like a forwarded email. So you have RE, for example, or sometimes you use a forward. So if you forward an email to someone, you will receive the FWD : and then followed by this. Okay, so you can actually do that. And my recommendation, do it sparingly, because eventually, they will find out, and very likely that they will not open your emails anymore. You can do emojis, right? My last email to you, the last 15 minutes, I think, has emojis front and behind. You can use emojis to stand out, right? So in this case, out of what, 2, 4, 6, 8, 9 emails, one of them has emojis. Okay, so not many people still use emojis. You can do that. You can create an open loop like Rachel does. So 18 years ago, I fell in love. Okay, so, right? So those are the subject lines that you could play around, that you can use to actually trigger people to open your emails. What else? Start with numbers up front, 18 signs, 7 steps, 3 ways. Those are the things that it gives a sense of definition. It's very definitive. So you know that when you open this email, you're going to get like 18 steps or 3 steps or whatever it is. So it basically preempts the users to know what they're expecting. Okay. You could rule suspense, right? Like the last three emails, for example, devastating announcements on September 22nd could change America forever, right? Or Troy does, today is my last email because iOS 15 is going live, I think, by midnight tonight, right? So it would affect email marketing. We'll have a separate session maybe to talk about it, but generally speaking, it would affect the way you send emails to a certain extent. But if you have most of your users are not on Apple Mail, you're still safe. Okay, so suspense helps, and you can call out a name. Okay, some of our emails I will call your name if you have your first name. So that's very important that when you collect email address, you need email address obviously. You ask for their first name and last name, so that especially the first name, so I can actually call out names in my emails individually. So if they send it to me, they will call me Andrew. So if they send to, for example, Hong Chuan, for example, you will start with Hong Chuan, or ST. They will say, ST, huge crisis is coming. Okay, so it's calling up your name. And then the other part, which not many people is aware of, is your pretext header. Okay, so you can use your pretext header, which is basically the text that comes right after your email in your list, in your email client, is they can use it to reinforce your subject lines, right? And so that's why your pretext header is another angle. Now, these 3 things, your from name, because of familiarity, your subject line, and your pretext, these are the 3 components that would decide whether somebody would open your email or not. Okay, so you need to, at the very least, these are the 3 things you need to fix first. Okay. Now, I would strongly recommend you don't do stuff like no reply. Okay, yeah, I still see companies doing that. No reply, especially if you do transaction emails, maybe. But even broadcast email, they say no reply, followed by company and all those things. It's not a very nice way. Basically, they're saying that, okay, I can send you email, but you don't send to me. I'm not going to read your emails. So what's the point? There's no engagement. There's no two-way communication. And email is supposed to be a two-way communication tool, right? The only exception, okay, this is personal. The only exception is unless you're a tax authority. Okay, how often will you receive an email from LHDN? The first thing first, you open it, irrespective how crappy is the subject line. You see, like, there's a word hassle, there's a word LHDN, for example. You will open it. So as far as I'm concerned, they are probably the only organization where unlikely that somebody will unsubscribe. They won't dare to because they don't know what's going to come. So they will definitely keep it. So unless you're a tax authority, I would strongly advise you to use your from name nicely, to do it properly. Use your personal name or use your company name or combination of both. Okay. You can send me birthday messages. I definitely don't want to receive birthday messages from these guys. So creepy and so scary. But they're doing it right because they have the data and they can actually do it. So even if the tax authorities are doing it, okay, although it's kind of scary, I don't know, if you receive a birthday message from LHDN, you basically just wish that they forget you, okay? Only data that like to be wiped up is LHDN or the tax authorities, but they are doing it right because they're making use of database to send this to you, okay? So the next thing is your email body copy. So assuming you've got all these 3 things right, which is your from name, your subject line, and also your pretext, you've enticed them enough for them to open your emails. The next thing is your email body copy. Okay, so simple stuff. It is an email after all, so keep it simple. Okay, don't have to complicate the matters. If you write text, use simple languages. For example, write to the one reader. Okay, you've probably read it, online. The idea is because it's a one-to-one communication. When I send an email to, for example, Ram, for example, when I send to Monica, for example, I will either have a name as a personalization, but the email, I will write it as if I'm writing to Monica. Okay. Although I'd be writing for 1,000 people on my list, but I'm writing this email with Monica in my mind. And especially if I segment it properly, I would know basically what industry she's in, for example, and my writing would be that. So I may have multiple emails going out to different segments of my audience, promoting or selling the same stuff. Okay, so you write to the one reader. That's very important. And unless you're in e-com, which you can use graphic because you're selling products, then basically you can use text, because that's what traditionally that's what email is. You send an email to the colleague, to your friend, for example. It's basically text email. You're not going to start bother to write, attachment. At most, maybe you do a GIF, but other than that, if it's a nicely designed email, the first thing first, the subscribers will see and says, okay, this is a commercial email. Okay, so you use normal text. After that, you have already given or delivered your information. Then you focus on your call to action. Okay, have one for every email. Not necessarily, like I mentioned, not necessarily you have to sell anything, but you are basically promoting or training your subscribers to click on every email that you send. And it could be a link to watch a video. It could be a link to an article. It could be a link to, a page, right? So every single email, whenever possible, right, you should have a CTA, because that's how you train them. And over time, when they receive your email, they will expect something, and it's natural for them to click. So the CTA is very important because that's the next step. Okay. So in summary, use email to raise awareness. Remember that 97% group, especially those that definitely not me kind of group, you can use it to deliver great value, right? Deliver content, to deliver education, to entertain, or to even inspire your readers. There are many ways of doing it, okay? To showcase your authority, right? So when you do, for example, testimonials, when you do case studies, those are the things that you can do, subtly remind your users or your readers about your authority and what you can do for them, right? And then to also talk about problem-solving skills. For example, if you have a video talking to somebody and helping somebody with their business, for example, you want to share with your readers and say, yeah, I just spent an hour with this guy and we managed to solve this problem, right? So these are all subtle moves that drive them closer to the point that they want to get on a call with you. And when they get on a call with you, they already feel that they know you so well because they're getting so much value from you. So this is how you can do with email. Imagine if you use that on a salesperson. I'm a salesperson, I know. How often can I interact with my customers? But if I do emails, I can do it as often as I can. And I can do it 24/7. And if I'm a global business, I can do it globally. Okay. And like I say, it allows them to basically prime so that when they start a conversation with you, they already know where you're coming from. They already know what you can do because they've seen your content, they have read your content, they have interacted with you remotely or virtually. Okay. So, like I say, it's to move you closer or to move the prospects or even your customers, because you may want to do upsells, right? To move them closer to the point before closing the sale where you actually have this one-to-one, for example, or you went to send them to the sales page. So the thing I want to leave with you, we've got about 3 minutes. Cool. Social media or ads are great for reach. No doubt about it. Okay. But emails, if it's done correctly, are great for revenue because this is where you have the one-to-one communication or conversation with your prospects or even your customers. So the offer, also called the freebie that I mentioned about earlier, if you like to go deeper, if you want me to, if you're in a 58% where you're using your emails and says, okay, I need somebody to have a look at it whether I'm doing it right, you can actually basically get on a call with me, book a call with me for 30 minutes. We can have a private chat. I can do a quick audit of your emails. If you're not sure how you want to apply emails, we can have a chat about it. Look at your sales process. I will study your sales process and say, okay, these are the things you can do. But if you're already using emails, then we'll look at, okay, what are areas that we can fix? Okay. So the link is there. It's www.andrewwong.email. It's a domain. It will lead you to a calendar for you can book. But one promise I'll make, I'm not going to pitch you anything. Okay. I'm going to focus on solving. I may not be able to solve all your problems, but I'm going to give you pointers. And if you want to go further, it's up to you. Okay. But it's not going to be a call where I'm going to sell you stuff. Nothing to sell. When you need me, you know where to find me. Okay. Let's do some Q&A. So what's the success rate of email benchmark? The success rate of email, you basically want to look at the engagements. nowadays, I mean, if with iOS 14, you may not want to be, the open rates may not be so so accurate anymore. But you want to look at basically your rate of closure. It's still the last point. For example, how many calls can you make by sending emails? You may not be able to close, but at the very least, to the point that they're ready to talk to you. Okay. So benchmark, different industries have different benchmark. I don't have the data with me now, but those are global benchmarks, or maybe primarily dominantly US benchmarks. I don't have the data with me. In the financial, Khaled, in the financial industry, how to build trust over email? Best way to build trust. Okay, so if you're a financial industry, like I shared earlier in the slides, you can provide basically information, financial information or guides or tips to show that you actually care for them. All right. Recently, like this morning, I read an email on from Malik Ali from BFM. He was talking about, what was it? The fund kind of related insurance package where you combine fund investment and also insurance. Those are the things that if you are in this line, you may want to send an email to explain to them, right? You may want to send emails to clarify this is how, or you may want to send emails to guide them about these are the things you should be looking for. Now, if you do that, and another guy who happens to, try to promote their products, and because you have been open and you've been sharing this content, they will come back to you and ask you. The idea is, as in anything in B2B, for example, one of the tricks that we used to do is we don't go in as salesperson, we go in as consultants, in a sense that we provide advice. Such to a point that whenever our competitors make a move, the customers or the prospects come back to me, hey, by the way, Andrew, I've got this guy, yes, proposing this. What do you think? That's what you want. And then by virtue of that, our prospects become our listeners out there. Okay. But if I come in and just basically, hey, this is what I can do, sell me, sell all the way, and I don't actually sit down to understand, they will not open up. And same thing in your financial services. You want to be able to share this information and give them some insight tips. Okay, when you see this, these are the things you should look for. And if you're an honest business person or you're an honest salesperson, this is what you should do. And if it's not your line of products that you will not be able to serve, you should tell them. And I think that is lacking in this day and age, which, you can do that with emails and you can nurture them over time. They don't have to buy from you for within, a month. They can do it over the next 3 months or so. It costs you nothing. Okay. So if you want to go deeper, you want me to audit your emails if you're using it already or something that you may plan to start, book my 30 minutes with me. Go to www.andrewwong.email. It will redirect you to a TidyCal calendaring system where you can select the dates and time according to my schedule and according to something that is comfortable with you. We can spend 30 minutes. I'm not going to sell you anything. I will help you as much as I can. And, and the idea is to give you on a track on using emails. My mission is to get as many people as possible to understand the value of emails, and what you want to do with it is entirely up to you. Okay. All right. Thank you so much. And I hope to see you again on the next event.